So one of the factors that inhibits performance, either endurance performance or high intensity performance, is the increase in core body temperature. Essentially, once you start going above 38 degrees Celsius internally, you can inhibit key enzymes like pyruvate kinase, which is the end part of glycolysis, which is needed for basically creating ATP, and then pushing pyruvate into the Krebs cycle to create more ATP. So as your core body temperature and muscles increase in temperature, basically you start shutting down and inhibiting enzymes that produce ATP, which is essentially going to shut down muscle contraction. So it is important in prolonged endurance exercise, typically like 20 minutes or longer, especially if it's high intensity, or if you're doing exercise in the heat, something that's going to increase core body temperature, then being able to reduce the rise in core body temperature is going to dramatically improve performance. Now, what exactly can you do though if you are like in competition? Let's say you're an MMA fighter, you're a boxer, or you're a runner. So one way to do this is to actually cool these three special areas on the body. Essentially, it's the face, the palms of the hands, and the bottoms of the feet contain special skin called glabrous skin, which contain these special blood vessels called AVAs, arteriovenous anastomoses. But essentially, these blood vessels can bypass capillaries, and they can directly pass blood from veins to arteries and arteries to veins, essentially. So it's a much quicker cooling. They also have a much larger diameter, so they can pass a lot more blood in heat or cold across the system. So what studies have shown is they've looked at cooling these types of glabrous skin, again, the face, the palms of the hands, or the bottoms of the feet, to see if you can increase performance. So just kind of going through some of the results of some of those studies, when you do this, you can actually increase the amount of pull-ups you can do by about twofold. You can increase the number of reps on a bench press by about 40%, and you can increase your max bench press by over 20%. And there's also studies looking at people like walking in the heat, where they can walk anywhere from about 4 to 14 minutes longer because of these types of glabrous skin cooling. Now, if the more areas that you cool, the better you will reduce the rise in core body temperature, and the longer you will be able to train or basically perform in competition. So, and there's also pre-cooling protocols too. But this is one key in regards to enhancing performance, is reducing the rise in core body temperature through these glabrous skin cooling. Now, the key is to not cool those areas too much, making it too cold where you vasoconstrict the AVAs, and now they can't bring in cold and cool the core body temperature off. So essentially, if you're using like a frozen can or an ice pack, typically you don't want to use it for longer than 10 seconds at a time, right when the skin starts to feel uncomfortable, because you don't want to close the AVAs. You want to make sure they're open so they can keep bringing in cold into the core. So essentially, like passing like an ice pack back and forth between the palms every 10 seconds is probably a good strategy in between rounds or in between workout sessions or whatever you're performing, interval training or whatever, cooling both the palms and even better, the palms and the bottoms of the feet and even the face if you can. The more glabrous skin you can cool simultaneously, you're going to have synergistic effects and improved benefits, especially again if you're performing high intensity exercise and especially in the heat as well.